Welcome back to the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance. Today's episode, there's not a lot going on in the NFL right now, but we have some cool things to talk about. But the first really cool thing that we want to touch on today happened a few days ago, and the streets are still rioting. They're still going crazy, and that's the OKC Thunder, baby. We finally got a championship. We finally got a title, the first one in OKC's history. They've won some in Seattle, but we don't count that. First one in OKC's history. We got our title. It sucked that Halliburton got hurt. Prayers go to him and his family, but I still think we would have won even if it was in. People disagree, but that's besides the point. The fact is, OKC won, baby. Let's go.
I mean, Andrew, what a historic moment for the state of Oklahoma. Um,
Hmm.
I asked a friend about this, and I'm half joking, half serious. Is this the most serious thing that's happened in Oklahoma in the 2000s?
I mean, probably, honestly. The only thing that Oklahoma has other than the Thunder is like OU football, and they've been good, but not great for a long time, ever since the Bob Stoops era. So, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot going on in there other than the Thunder. And that's why the crowd is always so loud and energetic and support them so much. I mean, even when they were winning like 20 games, the crowd was always full and the crowd was always celebrating them. The fans at the Thunder Arena are fantastic.
I'm just going through Oklahoma's history here. I'm trying to see if this is the most significant event in the 2000s. And I, oh, they celebrated their centennial. That was that's a big
Okay.
deal, but it's like not you're
Hmm.
not going to really remember that. But the Oklahoma City bombing was in the 1990s, I think, right? Wasn't that
I think so. Yeah.
1999? So I think that one I would not count that as a 2000s event.
The only other 2000s event was the tornado that went through more.
I mean, can we talk about good things? You know what? I think that needs to
Yes.
be a separate
Yes.
timeline. We don't need to talk about the bad history of Oklahoma. But I mean, what a huge event. I mean, what a big
Hmm.
event. And Oklahoma's, OU success it's awesome, but it's different. I don't feel like that
Right.
a state owns that because Oklahoma State University is not happy when Oklahoma University is succeeding.
That's fair.
And Oklahoma Baptist or SWASU, any of the other
Hmm.
schools you want to talk about, they're not like, oh, yay, Oklahoma, finally got a championship or oh, yay. Like that doesn't
Hmm.
matter to them.
Hmm.
So I don't think it's an overstatement to say that we could find that this is a significant moment for Oklahoma history.
Right. Yep. It really is. It really
Well, I
is.
mean, you look at this team and this could be the start of something really special. It really could.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was watching some people talk about it, and I know it's too early to say that this is a dynasty. And that was the question. And a lot of sportscasters and they were saying, why are we having this conversation? And I answered myself and I said, I'll tell you why. I know they're not yet, but the reason why we're having this conversation is because they're so young and every single player is on contract for next year. They could run it back with the same exact team. And if they do, which they probably will, they'll make a couple tweaks here or there, but most of them will be back. They'll be a title contender again because they are that good. Will they win it next year? I would take the field over them just because it's a better chance. But as a singular team, I would take them and win it all next year because they're that talented. They have that good chemistry. They're well coached. They are like a mature team at their young age, and they're still developing because they're so young. They're going to get better as individual players. So that's why the conversation is this a dynasty? Now, I know you have to win back to back, maybe a three-peat to actually be official be one, but the conversation's there because they're intact and they're only getting better. And next year they have like four first round picks, something crazy. So just it's wild. It's wild how good Sam Presti did in this for this team.
It's a great time to be an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. It's a great time.
Hmm.
Um, they've never been my main team, but they've always been my low key number two team. Growing
Hmm.
up in Oklahoma, I mean, that Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden team was one of my favorites. I'm still bummed
Yeah.
about how things ended. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that was one thing that Sam Presti decision made. I sort of understood it, but I wish he would have waited one more year because right after that Heat loss, he traded I think he traded I don't think he cut, but I think he traded James Harden.
yep,
And I thought, man, if you give them one more year, I know he couldn't afford to pay him all, and Harden probably would have left for nothing. And I get that's not something you don't want to happen. But when you have that kind of a young core together and you're that close, you lose the Heat, and every game was down to the wire. So the last one, I think like I forgot who the guy's name was. Last name was like I think it was Mike Miller hit like 19,000 threes or something crazy. Um, but when you're
exactly.
that
That it was
close,
verbatim that many threes, by the way.
yeah, probably. But when you're that close and you have that good of chemistry, and the three main guys, Durant, Harden, and Westbrook, were just on the sidelines, like arms across each other, just talking, saying, and probably saying, "Let's get this next year." And then you trade Harden away. I mean, kept them together one more year, they probably would have won the next year. So that was like the one time Sam Presti, I don't believe, made the correct decision. But he has an amazing track record, and no one's perfect. So,
I mean, you look at where the team is now, Andrew. It
hmm
I give him total props. And man, if you're Kevin Durant, I just feel like if I'm him, what a career I've wasted. I have wasted my
hmm
career trying to get rings, and you got one.
hmm
Congrats. Happy for him that he's able to say that he finally won one. But
hmm
I just feel like the Gordon Hayward Kevin Durant story is so similar in the sense that you get so obsessed chasing power and relevance and success that you actually end up leaving the success and relevance behind.
hmm
Because, Gordon Hayward, when he went to the Celtics, his best days were gone. He was not the same
Yep.
player, major injury. The Jazz were honestly really good over the next few years. It could have been amazing if Gordon had stuck around with the team. Um,
hmm
it's crazy, man. It's to tie it to free agency news. I've listened to a lot of podcasts with former Eagles members that have specifically highlighted um, don't go chasing the money. Really think about it
Mm.
because your happiness is what will really matter. And I feel like we gave Durant
hmm
the truth serum. We gave him the truth serum and he could really think about it. I think he would say, I made a mistake. I made a colossal mistake that I've been chasing my whole career and trying to make up for.
Yeah. 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 And now he's going to be a Rocket, and that's actually a pretty good team. They were already the two seed, and now they added Durant. That's solid. So they're going to be a possible contender. I don't know if I'd put them into actual contender. I have to see it first, but that's going to be a pretty good team. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, they will be. I just think that Durant's best days are behind him.
Oh, for
I,
sure. He's like, what, like 35 now, 36, something like that?
but that's where it comes back to the same thing that we've talked about in the past. You can't go after what was. You have to go after what is.
hmm
And that's the whole point. And that's what I think that I just so deeply admire about Sam Presti is that he did a great job of
hmm
realizing what is working and what is not working. Um, I mean, the Paul George trade was really important.
I know. He's still getting dividends off of that trade.
Well, but I mean, that's just the whole point. And that's why, as a Jazz fan, I'm so frustrated with Danny Ainge and why
hmm
when we joked about it in the messages about building a Sam Presti statue, and I told you no, that statue is going to be built in Utah, and that's where I would build it. I would build a Sam Presti statue in Utah in front of the door. Danny Ainge goes in front of every day to make sure remind him you are not better than Sam Presti. I don't care what your success was
hmm
in Boston. You have done nothing for the Jazz franchise. Like it just, it makes me so mad, dude. It makes me so mad because several Jazz fans are so obsessed with the success he had in Boston. But like, what has he provided? He made the Cavs an amazing team by giving him Mitchell. We could have never gotten enough back for Mitchell to make it worth it. The Gobert
hmm
trade, you got first round picks, but they're such a good Wolves team that it doesn't matter. The picks are horrific. And like I just think about that over and over again, where it's like just a colossal mismanage of resources. And to trade, like to me, the icing on top is to trade three first round picks for a potential possible good first round pick. You would never do that as an NFL GM. You would never do that
Hmm.
ever. No matter, I mean, even if you were trading with, trying to think who the worst team right now in the NFL is, the Cleveland Browns, probably. That's the number one, I'd say, is like most likely team to
Them or
fall
the
apart.
Giants.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But even the Giants, I think Jackson Dart, I like his trajectory, but you would never do
Yeah,
that.
there's
You
potential.
would,
Hmm.
you would never talk yourself into that. And like the fact that you made that trade is just a perfect example of you have mismanaged your resources. So get off my soapbox. Congrats, Thunder. So happy for you guys.
Yes.
Sam, please come to Utah, take over for Danny. We'll send Danny back to OKC and he can build up the 2008 Boston Celtics team again or something. I don't know. I just, drives me nuts, man. It drives me absolutely insane.
Hmm. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if um like the mayor of Oklahoma just gave Sam Presti the state. Like the state is yours, sir.
The state key, that's what he'll give him.
Hmm. Like the whole state, you own it.
Um,
Whatever you want to do. You did so well with the Thunder. Now you could run the state.
one last thing I just wanted to mention on with this NBA discussion. I have laughed so hard at all of the comments I've heard about people crying over spilt milk that two small market teams made it to the NBA finals.
That was great finals.
I
They
I,
were
I just
so good.
I just want to say this out loud on our podcast. I do not care how much money the NBA lost. I don't care. It does not matter. You know what I care about? I care about growing the sport. And that is a sport
Hmm.
where that finals was like one where that was a legitimately great finals,
It
going
was.
back and forth, highly competitive. Halliburton laying everything out on the line. His teammates
Hmm.
coming in game seven and still giving it a good battle, not
Hmm.
just laying down the sword. I mean, that's what you live for. Like that is exactly what you should want as a sport. I mean, the hockey series started off great, but man, ended badly. I mean, by the end, the Oilers were just spent. But that Pacers Thunder series was constantly
Hmm.
back and forth. Like that is what you should want. Um,
Exactly.
so I'm
I don't want the super team era anymore. I want the era that we have now, where you
yeah,
build around playmakers, you build around role players, you build around a couple really good players, but just chemistry and team construction. That's so much fun.
yeah. I think it's really fun. So I'm so happy for the Thunder. I think they're going to continue to be a
Mhm.
great team. Um, but it's a great model for small teams. Small teams can do it. You
Hmm.
can do it. You don't have to be the bounty style, go get Kawhi Leonard and only get 1 year if you're Toronto. It doesn't have to be that way.
Hmm.
There's a model. So
Yep.
props to them, man. Awesome. So happy for you as a Thunder fan. Hopefully this makes up for, Vikings maybe not having as much success recently that you can finally say your team has a chip.
One of my teams does, and I don't think it's going to stop. We'll see. I have hope for the future for both my main teams. One already got me one. The other, there's a lot of potential there. I'm cautiously optimistic, I'll say that, about my purple team. Cautiously optimistic. But that's a good segue to get to actual football stuff because this is a football show, but we had to talk about basketball for a little bit. It just
Oh, I
happened.
mean,
It's
absolutely.
huge
I mean,
news.
we're both from Oklahoma, Andrew. So taking a moment to talk
Exactly.
about Oklahoma, it's relevant. It's always relevant.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. But getting on back to the gridiron part of our podcast, I just want to take a moment and celebrate someone. Give him a round of applause for saying that this might be his last year. Congratulations, Aaron Rodgers. Thank you for your time. All right, moving on. So now we can talk about some actual bad but talkative news. And I'm gonna let you start here with some Justin Tucker stuff because this is, it's not good. Not good.
Well, I just think it's so funny, Andrew, that I saw the headline come out for Justin Tucker getting, and by the way, he's not with a team. He is still a free
Hmm.
agent kicker.
Right.
Um, but he got a 10-game suspension, and I immediately laughed because I thought, oh, it's the Deshaun Watson effect. Like, I'm telling you that Roger looked at the situation and he looked at everything. He's like, I can't, like, the best I can do is 10, and the worst I can do is 10. I'm so certain that someone told him that, like, Roger, you got to walk the same line here. You can't be different because
Hmm.
you will have people in uproar if it's too little, and you will probably get it reduced if it's more than 10. But now he can go in if an arbitrator wants to go in and evaluate the suspension. I think it probably stands because precedent will say that 10 games is fair.
Hmm.
Uh, maybe it works out to now you argue in front of an arbitrator that, hey, we give half a game suspension for every person that was sexually assaulted. I mean, that's what it feels like. Part of me is kidding. Part of me is like kind of serious
Hmm.
about that. Um, Here's what I think about these sexual assault situations. If it's one situation, if it's one time, it is a lot easier for me to say, okay, there's a place that you could say that maybe things were not interpreted the same way. You were not going about something the same way as your partner that you were with that night. But when it's literally dozens of times and they're all
Hmm.
reporting the same stories, I know we live in an innocent until proven guilty society, but it's very, very hard for me to say, you know what, you might be innocent. Maybe there's something we're missing here because the
Hmm.
pattern's just there. I mean, to me, it's really sad, man. It's really sad because, in Tucker's case, it was 16 cases. So maybe not quite half a game suspension, but we're pretty close to that math. But
Hmm.
it's amazing how people are blowing their careers simply because they cannot tame passions. Like, not just this, um, like on a smaller scale, there could be those like Shador Sanders is dealing with this a little bit right now with getting in trouble with the law and
Yeah,
not staying out of harm's way. And let me be very clear because I don't want people to get it sideways. Different buckets, but
for sure.
there are accountability issues, there are discipline
Hmm.
issues, there's selfishness issues, um, there are immaturity issues. In,
Hmm.
in every way you could say that they apply to this scenario. Um, but man, that's why morals are so important. That's why, like, this is a side tangent, and I'm not saying this is always true, but people will often talk to me about BYU players and why do BYU players, even though they tend to be older, why do they get drafted by teams? I think the argument is very simple. It's because it's a program that's deeply ingrained with a religious background that has a
Hmm.
high moral priority. And so the likelihood that they're going to be a good player is not just a good player as far as like on the field, but good player on your team is higher.
Hmm.
It's easier to trust them to say, I'm giving you the keys. I can trust that you are going to lead this team and be accountable. And like that's the part. Just look at these situations. What a shame for Deshaun Watson. What a shame for Justin Tucker that their careers are going to be marred because they could not control their discipline, their appetites. And I don't want to get too much into those details because I want to be respectful of those women. And it's really sad that they were in that spot.
Hmm.
Um, and I want to touch on another situation because it's related to this. BYU has a quarterback, Jake Retzloff, that has been accused of a sexual assault situation. And I deal a lot with legal background. And I thought it was very interesting that when he was accused and the news came out, Jake's attorney used a very interesting phrase that I knew instantly was like, this is not good. Um, but he said that the attorney said that he was factually innocent. And as soon as I read that, I thought, he knows what he's doing. This attorney knows exactly what he's doing because you would say factually innocent when you're saying, listen, he might be partially guilty, but he's not totally guilty. And in my head, if you're partially guilty and assaulting somebody, get out of here. I don't want you on my team.
Hmm.
Like, as soon as you
Hmm.
make that argument, I'm like, you're telling me that there's truth to this woman's story. Like, that is despicable. I don't care if you're telling me, well, it's not as bad. I didn't do as much as she's saying. I wasn't as forceful. I wasn't as
Hmm.
aggressive. I don't care. Like that, you're missing the point. You, the person that committed this act, is missing the whole point of why this is wrong. If all you think is, if it's a percentage wrong, you're still wrong.
It's still
And
wrong.
like that is something our society like has backwards right now, is that if people are choosing to behave this way, like this is why I was saying Mike Green is a big red dot on for me. I
Hmm.
mean, it's two times, so there's still a possibility. And Jake, it's only one time, and we don't know the full story. I just don't want those players on my team. You
Yep.
don't need them. And I don't need you to come in here and encourage some of my neutral players, people that aren't as strong morally, to possibly get in the boat with you and also make bad
Hmm.
decisions. Like you have to be so mindful of that when you're trying to construct a team. Because I can't remember the guy's name. Was it Greg Hardy? I think was the player that the Cowboys signed after he had
Oh,
brutally
yep.
assaulted.
Yep.
But the
That's the guy.
Cowboys were constructing that team, and there's a couple other characters on the team. I'm just like, you shouldn't want these players.
Hmm.
And in the end, what happened to the Cowboys? They didn't have success. And sure, you could argue it's because of talent. It's because the coin didn't, or, the coin flip didn't go their way, or a lot of other things. But at some point, you have to believe that your people are committed to the goal. Like
Hmm.
Jalen Hurts talks about it all the time. But um, the main thing has to be the main thing. And if your players can't say that the main thing is the main thing, whether by their words or actions, you shouldn't want them in your team.
Right. Right. I agree. I agree. And that's something that I've really enjoyed, um, that our head coach and our GM on the Vikings have done very, very strongly to make sure that they have good character players. Like, I don't know if you can find one player, and I would say the same for the Eagles, one player that has really any concerns, like, we better watch this guy. And then the first time it happens, for example, with the Vikings with Jordan Addison, which he had two issues of driving, one where he was going way too fast, and another one where he fell asleep at the wheel, and he has a court case coming up. They're already talking about possibility of trading him. Even this really good player, really good player. And again, like you said, things happen. It's life. We make mistakes. Make sure we forgive and move on in certain cases. But when it's a pattern, that's different. And with Jordan Addison now, could be a pattern, but the jury's still out, so to speak, because he hasn't done anything this year, which is awesome. And I believe that Justin Jefferson's doing his best to keep him under his wing. And I think actually also JJ McCarthy, because he is a high character guy. And when you're a leader of your team, has that
Mm-hmm.
high a character, he keeps everyone in line. And I think there's still a little hope for Jordan Addison because I think he has his court case middle of July, somewhere in there, and he's probably going to be suspended for 2 or 3 games. And if that is it, if it's in the past, moving forward, he's an awesome player. We can forgive. Nobody got hurt. He made some bad choices going too fast, and then he fell asleep at the wheel on like a intersection, I believe, which is very, very bad. But if he's gonna pay his penance, get suspended, and move forward, okay, we're good. But 2 times is getting close, 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 close to a bad pattern. And the Vikings have already got their eyes on that. So that shows good leadership. That's wanting your locker room to be secure, and you don't want any wolves in the sheep. You want to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that everyone knows what they're doing, keeps their eyes fixed on the prize, and not distracted by everything else that can get you in trouble.
Another thing too, I'd phrase on that is you don't want the sheep that are going to lead you to the wolves,
That too.
because
Hmm.
sometimes people aren't wolves, but they can sure be stupid enough to lead you right to the wolves and
Hmm.
cause you to get in trouble. Yeah, I, like and like I said, this is not to beat up on Shador Sanders, but when Jalen Carter came out from Georgia, the talk was about the speeding incident,
Yeah.
and that was not great. And it was noted why he dropped was because of that. But
Hmm.
one thing we haven't heard about since then, haven't had one issue come
Anything.
up with the law.
Yep.
But I I am sure that based off the way that Nick and Howie Roseman have ran the team and Jeffrey Lurie, that they told him like, listen, you can't. That has to stay behind. There can be no patterns here. If you want to be a
Hmm.
part of this team and you want to be a fix, you have to be disciplined and be all in on the mission of going and winning Super Bowl. Because like even like the Chiefs last year, right? Rasheed Rice, uh, maybe that wasn't big, but it was a distraction. Like that's the thing.
Yep.
It's a distraction. It's something that it's just this elephant in the room that Andy Reid can't talk about, can't address because it's a legal issue. He doesn't want to get the team in hot water. He's trying not to make things worse for Rasheed Rice. And Andy Reid's a level-headed guy and does a good job with making sure it doesn't. But it is still a distraction. It hurts your team. And you wouldn't want that, or at least you shouldn't want that. You shouldn't be. It shouldn't be of your mindset that it's not a big deal as long as they're a talented player and they do what they're supposed to. Um, but man, it is just crazy. I have joked about in the past that I feel like the Cleveland Browns need to sign Justin Tucker because I feel like that will complete their franchise. But they probably won't do that just because they have an okay kicking situation right now.
Yep. They do.
Um, but man, I just like, here's another question I always think about for legacy purposes. Justin Tucker, probably the best kicker in the past 10 years, 15 years. Kind of hard with Adam Vinatieri
Probably.
because he's in there. But
Hmm.
like, he's probably a borderline Hall of Famer. Does this now make him a no vote? Right? Does this now
That's
make it
very
where they're
fair.
like, we can't do this. We can't let him in. Like, if he loses one of these cases, like that would be the nail in the coffin for sure. That
Hmm.
would take away all chances. And even if he's able to get these settled, I don't know, man.
His legacy is
It
tainted.
just sucks. It sucks for the people that are involved. They'll always think of him with the name, and it sucks for him and his
Hmm.
family. Because like the family didn't want this. No one wants to have to deal with that, but
Hmm.
you have to if you're related and you love that person. Um, so there's one other person I was thinking about, and I promise I will get off my soapbox in just a second, Andrew. But on ESPN, Shannon Sharp. I don't know if you follow him at all.
Oh, I've heard some things. Yes.
Um, but two times this year he has had separate issues of being careless, being
Hmm.
careless, uh, unable to control his passions and appetites, and it has gotten him to really hot water. Um,
Hmm.
and it's just a shame. It's just a shame because that's a guy who he has kids, he has family, and even as a grown man that is well past his prime, he can still not control himself. And
Yep.
it's just sad because like your kids are grown up, man. It is time for you to grow up. And
Hmm.
I don't know how innocent or guilty he is in those scenarios, but like the part I just keep thinking in my head, Andrew, is like if you were living a chaste life, you wouldn't be in the news. It wouldn't be happening. It wouldn't, and especially in this context. But when you're not, you put yourself in situations where you really are susceptible, and it's hard to argue in your defense. And like, and now it's like I don't even know if he's even going to come back to ESPN. I know they're saying he
Yeah.
might come back, but they might
Yeah.
just go ahead and say, you know what, Shannon, we'll just terminate your contract. We'll buy you out. We don't need this baggage because it's not worth it.
Hmm.
But man, I can't get over it. How many great people have there been in this sport that have just ruined their career because they can't keep their head
Yep.
on straight. It's too bad, man. It really is. It's too bad, and I feel bad for those
Absolutely.
people.
Yep. They are getting like life and grandchildren changing money, and then they can't control themselves and they just waste it away. And that even goes to people who can't control themselves financially. they get into financial trouble and they end up being broke after they're out of the league, which is wild to think, but they are. It's a true statement. People, like you said, people just can't control themselves with financial, with gambling or with just wasting their money on junk. And they have none, like Vince Young. He was broke. Adrian
Yeah.
Peterson, he is struggling with money, and that's why he played so long because he needed the money actually. So it's just really sad.
Yeah. It is too bad, man. But you got to be smart. You got to be smart, and
Hmm.
you gotta stay on top of your finances, and you gotta think about the future. Like I say, Drew, we're not treating this podcast like it's our main source of income. We know this is a passion.
Right.
It is not something where we're looking at the views constantly thinking, this is it. This is the one that's going to take off to 1,500 views or,
Right.
55,000 views. We know better.
We're just having some fun. And if
But
people hop on, that's awesome.
please subscribe. Please continue to give us
Yes.
5 stars. Don't do that as an excuse to not do it. But we
Hmm.
know better.
Hmm.
So,
All right. Well, we got a little bit more time. Should we transition to the Buccaneers news?
oh yeah. I mean
Some
that's
good
I'm glad.
news.
Yeah. Um, I'm really happy for Todd Bowles. To get this
Hmm.
contract extension, what a big deal.
Well deserved.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because when Arians retired, I think that a lot of people were like, really? Like they're giving the keys to Todd Bowles. Um,
Hmm.
Fun fact, people probably don't know this, but Todd Bowles used to be on the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2012 in our dream team season, and things were falling apart. But he did a great job as interim, the defensive coordinator, because he's the one that stepped in for
Hmm.
Juan Castillo after he was let go. The guy that we hired that was the offensive line coach to be our defensive coordinator and totally thought was going to work out perfectly, and instead was one of the biggest flops in Philadelphia history. But that's besides the point. Um, but you know, and like everything that happened in New York, because being the head coach with Geno Smith, and man, Geno had so much growing up
Yeah.
to do, man. So
Hmm.
much. He is such a different person now compared to what he was in New York. He's
Yep.
grown up a ton. Um, but And speaking of, I hope that Gino gives some props to Todd Bowles because I feel like Todd Bowles kept
Mm-hmm.
his feet to the fire and told him like, no, no, you've got to grow up. You can't just. This
Hmm.
isn't college. Just because you're a talented player doesn't mean I'm just going to put up with whatever antics you decide is the name of the day. So I'm really happy he's got a second chance. And by the way, look, Buccaneers are kind of low key the rebound team. Like the people like come here, rebuild your career. Because think of Baker
That's
Mayfield.
fair. Hmm.
Tom Brady came and supposedly was on the ash heap of you know nothingness
Hmm.
and won a Super Bowl. Leonard Fournette came there and he had a little bit of spark left and had
Yep.
some juice. Antonio Brown had his last good moment, I guess. Also had his last worst moment in the NFL.
That's
So
very
maybe
true.
I don't know if that's really a rebound,
That's
but
another one of those character guys that we should have mentioned earlier.
uh, I'm really happy for him because he has he's had really good success there. I think that it's important to
Hmm.
take a moment to realize, like, um, the past 2 seasons, going and playing the Detroit Lions in Detroit and almost beating him. I mean, it was a close game.
Yep, they
Um,
should have beat him. Come on, they should have beat him.
I
If
mean,
they did beat him, we got the 1 seed anyway.
but I mean, they've been impressive. So I'm happy
Hmm.
for him. I don't know what thoughts you wanted to share on that, but that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I'm with you the same way. I'm happy for him. He deserved it. They have a really good team there. They're keeping everybody together. Their offense is humming, and he's a defensive coach, so he gets their defense in line too. They are a really good team, and when they make the playoffs, which they always do, they're dangerous. Are they a Super Bowl contender? To be determined. We'll see, but most likely going to win that division, get a home playoff game, and they're going to be a tough out. They're a good team. They're a really good team, really well coached, and that GM has built together something nice there. So yeah, I agree with you. It's awesome. Happy for him. Todd Bowles is very underrated. He's proven it time and time again that he knows what he's doing.
One thing I'm not looking forward to the Eagles playing the Buccaneers again.
They seem like they
Um,
always play each other.
it does seem like they always play each other, and in Tampa, by the way. I think this is the third year in a row we're going to go play some. They're playing in Tampa, which is like wonderful.
Hmm.
Thank you, NFL, for making sure that that could happen. Um, but man, I don't know what it is Todd does, but the head games he plays with Jalen Hurts, he's the best coach so far. He knows exactly what to do to get Jalen rattled and
Hmm.
to not have a good day. Um, so that's like the one team I have circled on my, I guess, watch list of like, please don't let us play him in the playoffs. We will take any other
Hmm.
team.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. He's done a good job. He's done a really good
He
job.
has.
But that kind of goes back to the question too. I always think about of what's the goal as a team, right? And for the Tampa
Mm.
Bay Buccaneers, they won a Super Bowl recently. Is it to win a Super Bowl or is it to be relevant? Like relevant, successful, competing.
Hmm.
Because I think that's probably Todd Bowles' ceiling. I don't think he's their Super Bowl team, but they
Yeah,
will be competitive.
for sure. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. So it's been impressive to see what they've done, especially their defense. Really, really good defense. So
Yeah. Hmm. Well, did you
um,
have a couple pieces of Eagles news you want to touch on before we wrap up?
yes. So it's my favorite week of the offseason, Andrew. It's not because of anything like most NFL fans would be aware of. There's an NFL writer. His name's Jimmy Kempski. Highly, highly recommend that you give this a follow. But he releases every year, right before July, the top 10 reasons each team in the NFC East will be a dumpster fire. Well, on Monday, he released the Dallas Cowboys, and it did not disappoint. Um, it was glorious. There's a picture of Jerry Jones behind an ice cream stand, which was just hilarious. Because he does like these. He knows he's a horrible artist, so he intentionally draws it in a way where it's like a kid drew it. So it makes these
Hmm.
these cartoon photos even more funny. But yeah, it's such a great piece. Highly recommend giving that a follow. Go read those stories. But yeah, man, it's almost time for the NFL season. It's getting
It
there.
is. It is. We're just a few more weeks away. I think about 3 to 4 in that range, weeks away of training camp starting. It's usually about mid-July. So mid to end July is when training camps actually start. So that's going to be fun. And then we'll see injuries happen because that always happens. So we're going to have to see some teams adjust. And then right around training camp season is when fantasy season starts and you start to really dive into some mock drafts, into some rankings. And we're going to talk about that here too. We're going to talk about a lot of that here. This isn't just a um, big story show. This is everything football show, fantasy included. So we're gonna have fun with that too. I'm excited.
Yeah, man, we got to get some of our rankings out there. We talked about like, our top journalists
Hmm.
one. Like that's something we still have to do at some point.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
we probably got to do the top five like declining. I think the declining might be the way that we want to phrase that because that way we could throw one of our favorite characters in that bucket. Spend some extra time covering that. Maybe
Hmm.
talk about Rodgers is still talking to the Vikings when we bring that portion up.
Probably he probably still is. He's probably still calling KOC, just dialing him like at 12 in the morning, like please answer. Please. And KOC just ignores it.
I would, I would. But yeah, man, it's there's a lot of stuff to still cover, and we still got some guests that we plan on
Oh
getting
yeah.
on. So
Oh yeah. We got a lot
yeah,
coming. Well, thank you guys for joining us in this episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff so we can continue to grow this channel.
thank you, everyone.